Welcome to the Missouri Valley Football Teleconference. My name is Bonnie, and I will be your conference operator today. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. If you would like to ask a question, press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. If you would like to withdraw your question, press the pound key. Thank you. Mr. Kern, please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Bonnie. Let's get started with our first coach on the call. It's Youngstown State's Eric Wolford. The Penguins hosting nationally ranked 7 Illinois in a battle between 2 ranked teams on Saturday. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Let's talk about 7 Illinois. What do you see when you're looking at the rookies, and how do you prepare for that game?
Well, Coach Lennon obviously does a good job. It's a good team. You know, I think it starts with their defense. You know, they're holding people to about 3.5 a rush. A lot of sacks, 24 sacks, I think 40 tackles for a loss. So they kind of smother you there. And then, obviously, offensively, they're doing a good job with getting the ball to the tight end. Michael Pruitt, everyone knows who he is, and find just different ways to get him the ball in different spots. I got a really good running back in Malcolm Agnew, and Mark Iannone. He's doing a good job with football. He's got, I think, 14 touchdown passes. Really good in the special teams, specifically the kickoff return game and punt return, doing really well at both of those. So it'll be another great game with those guys. We've always had fun, interesting games with those guys, and I wouldn't expect this one to be any different.
Coach, let's go ahead and open this now for some questions for you. Questions from the media for Coach Eric Wolford.
To ask Coach a question, press star 1 on your telephone keypad. Our first question comes from Todd Hefferman of the Southern Illinois newspaper.
Hey, Coach, your quarterback situation, is there any chance you're going to play both of them, or are you going to decide on the starter, do you think, this week?
No, we're going to play both guys. Obviously, it gives defenses more to prepare for, and we can run those guys in and out, and that's something that we decided we were going to do basically last week, and I got in there for the series and got the hot hand, took us down for 2 drives, but our intention is to play both quarterbacks, and I don't think that's any secret.
What's the biggest difference between the two of them in your eyes when you watch them play?
Dante's obviously a junior. He's done well. He's thrown the ball well, and he can obviously run too. And whereas Kyle Wells is a freshman, a true freshman that came in here and just had an outstanding camp. And he's a guy that likes to throw the ball around, but he can deceivingly run the football. So they both have such strong points that it's a difficult decision for us. But they both bring something to the table, and I think that they both need to play.
And just if you talk about your run game, how much has it been your offensive line, and how much has it been Ruiz and Webb's ability this year?
Well, I think, our offensive line is a young group. Last week we had a junior and basically 2 sophomores and 2 freshmen playing up front. But, those guys are big guys, and I think they have a chance to be special. They're still developing. But I think we've got good running backs here. We've got a nice 1-2 punch with Ruiz and Webb. They're both explosive. They can make plays, and, it's just a matter of us making sure that we keep those guys healthy throughout the season. You can't just ride one guy the whole time. You just run into a chance of getting them banged up, so we're trying to even out the playing time there.
And then you mentioned SIU's pass rush. How do you protect your quarterbacks like the best way you can this weekend?
That is a secret. Every year I say the same thing. Coach Lennon, he's going to get sacks and tackles for a loss. That's what he likes to do. And, it seems like every time we play these guys, that's the glaring stat that stands out to me. And, obviously you've got to find ways to control that. And that's part of the gamesmanship, Todd, that we won't talk about.
And then last question, Eric. I know the president of Youngstown is Jim Tressel. How much do you see him, and do you call him President Tressel or Coach Tressel or whatever?
You know what? I have all intentions of calling him President Tressel, but when I talk to him, it's just Coach, and I think he likes that, but he's done a great job here. It's been outstanding to have him back, and he's doing good things for our university, which obviously all of us are trying to get better on a daily basis at our universities, and he's got the passion for Youngstown, and we appreciate that.
Thanks.
Again, to ask a question, press star 1.
Well, that was your only line of questioning today. Thank you. All right. Yes, sir. Talk to you next week. Let's get next to Coach Mark Foley of Northern Iowa. The Panthers hosting South Dakota State. Both teams ranked in the top 20. Northern Iowa at 20 in one poll, South Dakota State at 16 in another poll. Game will be televised in both markets. Good morning, Coach. Good morning. Well, let's talk about South Dakota State. They've got a quarterback who's getting his feet wet after having to come in their opener, and of course Zach Zenner is their running back with all the accolades. But let's talk about the game this Saturday and give us a preview.
Well, like you said, I think Zenner is a tremendous player, and he's been around a long time, and he did it again this year. I saw him make the big long run against Missouri. So each year he's beaten Missouri, Nebraska, and Kansas with those long runs. So a tremendous athlete, and he does a tremendous job for their team. So once again, that's a big part of their offense, and they're doing a great job.
Thank you, Mark. Let's get now to the questions for you. Questions from the media for Coach Mark Foley.
To ask a question, press star 1. Our first question comes from Tyler Merriam of Jackrabbit Sports Network.
Good morning, Coach. Let's just start with Max Busher. I know you sent some extra film into the Valley. Have you heard anything back on that? And if he is out for the first half, how does that impact your defense on Saturday?
Okay. How'd you know we sent extra film in?
Because you said it in your press conference yesterday.
Yeah. No, we're still waiting to hear. So I don't anticipate. That's one of those rules that he'll probably have to sit the first half.
So how does that impact your defense without your middle linebacker?
Well, just like anything, we'll have to make an adjustment and see where we go from there, but we'll have to make some adjustments.
Your kicking game, you lost an All-American last year in Severson, but obviously things have picked up very well here with your new guy.
Yeah, he's kicking the ball well. He's in a pretty good groove right now, so he's really prepared himself well over the years that he's been here as a backup, and now he's become the starter. It's his opportunity, and he's taking advantage of it.
My final question, you've been in the red zone 27 times. You've scored 26 of those appearances, but only 12 of those have been touchdowns. Is there anything you can attribute that to?
Yeah, we're not getting touchdowns. We're not getting the ball in the end zone. So, we need to do a better job of sticking it in there. We walk away, we got a good kicker, but we need to get 7 points instead of 3.
Coach, thank you.
You bet.
Our next question comes from Terry Vanderbeck of the Argus Leader Media.
More Coach, you guys have had very good success at home against South Dakota State. Do you guys feel like you're a pretty good home team in general? Like your guys are just a couple points better, like most teams, or that they're able to play a little faster because of the turf? Or I guess what do you attribute the success there to?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's a variable out there every year. And, it's anytime you play a home football game, just like when we go on the road, it's just tough to win this league. Home on the road, I don't think it matters anymore. You just got to play well all the time because everybody's good. Back in the day, it was some teams were high, some teams were low, but right now everybody's on high and everybody's got a top 20 football team. So I don't think it matters right now, home or on the road. You just got to take care of your business every week.
And then I saw you use the 2-quarterback thing last week, and so you'll do it again this week. What do you like so far about using both guys at the same time?
Well, we won. It's probably the first thing that came out of that. But the other thing is, whether we stick with one once we get on a roll, or if somebody gets hot. And my choices are based off what happens went through a game and you know what's transpired defensively and what's it caused and what's the production. So once we see all those types of things, you'll start to lean one way or the other. I liked our rhythm with the two in there, and that's probably the hardest thing to create is the rhythm when you're going back and forth. So I appreciated that last week, but you know you got to do that every week too.
And last thing you know, see the Valley in sacks so far. What's the strength of your pass rush?
I don't know if there's a strength to it. I just think that we've got we've had, you know, our players have been technique-wise been very good. Coach Pop's done a great job with them as far as teaching the techniques and the things that you have to do in pass rush to be successful. So I think our technique might be a little bit better than what it's been in years past. And you know, you attribute that to the players. You know, players got to make plays, and right now they're making plays.
Thank you.
Mike, that was your final question. Thank you for your time this morning. Appreciate it. Thanks. Now joined by Coach Mike Sanford of Indiana State. The Sycamores nationally ranked and headed to another nationally ranked program there at North Dakota State this weekend. Game will be seen on ESPN3 and in Fargo and the surrounding areas on NBC North Dakota. Morning, Coach.
He's coming through the door. This is my weekly appearance.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, here you go. Coach Sanford speaking.
Hi, Mike. It's Mike. How are you?
How you doing, Mike?
Good. Well, let's talk about North Dakota State. It's a tough test for anybody. They're coming off of a big win against Southern Illinois this past weekend. And how do you beat them?
Well, first of all, just a tremendous amount of respect for them. They are an outstanding football team. They're playing really well. They had a huge win last week. You know, I mean, I think a lot of people would have said that would have been a close game, and it was a very decisive win for them. You know, I think that obviously that it's difficult to play them up there. We have a lot of respect for them. They're a very good football team. I think the way that you win is kind of our, you know, I think it's kind of like our formula. I think you got to win the turnover battle. You can't turn the ball over up there. You know, and you've got to not, you know, you've got to get turnovers. And then I think you know, we've got to stop the run, and we've got to run the football, and that comes down to explosion plays. I think we've got to make some explosion plays in the run and pass game, and keep them from having explosion plays. I think that's critical. And then the final piece is special teams. We've got to win the special teams battle.
Thank you, Coach. Let's get now to the questions for you. Questions from the media for Coach Mike Sanford.
To ask Coach a question, press star 1. Our first question comes from Jeff Kolpak of the Fargo Forum.
Good morning, Mike. What's the status of Mike Parrish?
Mike Parrish ended up he had pregame warm-up last week was like his you know, one of the tests for him in the whole process of the concussion protocol that he was going through. He practiced yesterday. That was another part of that, and I would say that we'll know more as the week goes on, but it's looking very encouraging for him to play this week.
Did last week's loss derail the turnaround of good feelings from a year ago?
Well, you know, I mean, I wouldn't say. I guess you talk about a turnaround of good feelings. I think, you know, I mean, last week's loss was difficult, and I think it was difficult in that not only was it just a loss, but it was a very close loss where we came back and were ahead, and then lost it at the end. And you know, I think the combination of that with playing North Dakota State right after that, I think that's a difficult combo of factors coming together, and so it's going to be a huge test of our team's ability to bounce back. And that remains to be seen.
I'm guessing you're a little more confident of a bounce back this year than you were last year. Is that correct?
I would say that our guys, we're a very different football team than we were a year ago, and I think we have a different confidence level. I think it's a very different team than last year, so it's really hard to compare last year and this year. All I know is that we can't let one loss this last weekend beat us twice.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Our next question comes from Brian Shawn of NBC North Dakota Sports Network.
Hey, good morning, Coach. I just wanted to ask you, Coach, when after the 1-11 year and, going through the off season and everything, has it been rewarding? I mean, I know you're only halfway through the season, but has it been rewarding for you to see how not only your players respond, but the coaches and everybody to believe that this could be a turnaround here?
Yeah, I mean, I think, that has been a positive. We up to this point, I feel that way. We're kind of at the halftime point of the season, and I would say that's been a positive. But our deal is, we're not satisfied. We're not in any way, enjoying, like I think was mentioned earlier, the good feelings. We have our work cut out. We've got a very difficult second half of the season, and that starts off with a huge game against North Dakota State this weekend, and we've got our goals. We have very high expectations. We have high goals, and we've got to fight and work toward those goals in the second half of the season. We can't be satisfied with what's happened up to now, especially coming off a loss last week.
And I just wanted to ask you, Coach, when you were getting everything going through spring ball and then through fall camp, was there a specific, recipe that you had? Was it getting just back to the basics of just, let's just learn how to do everything over again? Or what was kind of the building blocks for you when you're going through that?
Well, the number one thing I would say, we started actually before they went on Christmas break back in, right after Thanksgiving. I met with the team. And a huge, we just talked about changing, everything, as far as our attitude, our expectation level, our work ethic, our, off-season program, our leadership, that we re-emphasized that when they came back from Christmas break. And then that was an ongoing theme, and we made a huge effort to improve our leadership on our team. We taught a leadership class. We are a work in progress. We are not a senior laden team. We've got a lot of young players on our team, and so we're a work in progress, and we are a work in progress as far as developing our leadership. But I do feel that our guys have bought in, and then I think aside from that, from a football standpoint, we had to look at what we do well and what we don't do well, and try to emphasize the things that we do well and do what our guys do well, and not try to do things that don't fit our guys. And we moved some people around, got some people in the right positions that fit their talents, and I think kind of all those things together are what's improved us so far.
Appreciate it, Coach. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Our next question comes from Jeff Kolpak of the Fargo Forum.
Yeah, sorry, just a follow-up. Can you be more specific, Mike, on a leadership class? What was that all about?
Well, we did we identified a bunch of guys on our team that we felt were either already leaders or potential leaders in all of our class levels, and we taught a leadership class on how to lead, because we felt like our leadership was very poor a year ago. And to me, if you want to improve leadership, you have to be proactive and do something about it. So that was something that we did, and I believe that our leadership has improved. Now, is it where we need it to be? No. We're on a journey, and it's not a destination, and we've got to keep improving. But yes, it was a real plus. We met once a week, and our coaches taught the class, and we brought in some guest speakers, and it was I think it was a good thing for our team.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Mike, that was your final question. Good luck and follow this weekend.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Coach. Roxback of Illinois State joins us. The Redbirds headed to Western Illinois, and we'll play the 11X at 3 o'clock on Saturday in Macomb. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Yeah, let's talk about Western Illinois. They have played 3 conference games so far. They were in all 3 of them. They finished last week by beating Youngstown in Youngstown, a very impressive win there. But talk about Western Illinois, what you need to do to beat the 11X at their place.
Well, you're going to have to out-execute them. You know, they execute very well on all phases of football, both offense, defense, and special teams. They do a nice job of executing what they do, and they do what they do. You know, they stay within their system, and they're very, very good and very well coached. So they're fun to watch, and they're a team that we played Indiana State a week ago, who I thought was a very much improved team, and Western Illinois is an improving team as well, and they're doing a great job there too. So we're going to play very well, and not better than we did last week.
Thank you, Coach. Let's get to the questions now. For your questions for the media for Coach Roxback.
To ask Coach a question, press star 1. Again, for questions, press star 1. Our first question comes from John Bowenkamp of Burlington Hawkeye.
Morning.
Good morning.
What is it that impresses you? You talked a little bit about Western Illinois, what they do. What impresses you the most when you watch them play?
How they're very good technically. Technically, their technique, which they execute in all phases of the game, is very good. I think they don't beat themselves, and they're technically very, very sound team. They run really nice routes. They're all together with their blocking. Just everything, the little things are what impress me. The execution of the little things. So I think they're getting better, and I think I like their quarterback. Obviously, I think he's a very good player. They have good players everywhere, but the quarterback's a good player. A couple good linebackers. They're active up front on defense. They're very sound in the secondary. They do a nice job at receiver and go with the football. They're very, just technically a very good team.
How much improved are they from when you saw them about this time last year?
Oh, I think they're improved, quite a bit. I don't know their team as much as obviously they do, but I think they're improved, quite a bit over last year. Watching last year's tape a little bit, I think they're a much better team than they were a year ago. But I think you can tell they were going to get better because they started. When we played them, it was about this time of year, I think, last year, and you can tell they're getting better and better and better. But I think they're a better team than they were last year. The whole league's better.
Right. Thanks. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Our next question comes from Scott Holland of the McDonough County Voice.
Good morning. How are you?
Not too bad. How you mentioned a Western Illinois quarterback. How has your quarterback matured from last season? Because I know you had some young guys with him a year ago on the offensive side.
Well, we don't. He's our backup quarterback now.
Okay. Well, how is your starter? I guess
we have a new quarterback. Yeah, he's doing very well. He's a transfer from Indiana and came in here this summer, and he's playing. I don't think he had one of his better games last Saturday, but he's a very good athlete and has very good arm strength, and he's a good player. And he seems to be getting better, getting more comfortable in our offense. He wasn't here in spring football, so he's had to get him to speed pretty quickly. So, but he's doing very well.
Thank you, Coach.
You bet.
Our next question comes from Jeff Kolpak of the Fargo Forum.
Hey, Brock, why do you think Indiana State's improved?
They just look like a more physical football team. I think the their coaching staff, has a better handle on who they are, and you can just tell from the one season to the next. I think they're very comfortable. I hear coach's comments. Before I got on here, I think he's very accurate in that. They do what they do well, and they emphasize that. And that's a really good point, because you got to find out what your players can do. And I think they know a lot more about their team. Obviously, they do, because they've been there longer. But they've done a great job of executing the things that they can do well. And I think that's the key of any good team, any sport, but particularly football, that you do what the players can do. And I think that was a really accurate comment by Coach. I think that's exactly what's made them a much better team than they were a year ago. They don't play outside their system. They play within their system. They do what they do, and they have little wrinkles like we all do. But they're executing, and they're a much more physical team than they were a year ago. So. I think we'll see a much better team. I don't know if you guys played them last year or not, but you'll see a much better team than you saw last year.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
You bet.
Brock, that was your last question. Thank you for your time this morning, and good luck this weekend.
All right, thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Coach. We'll segue into Illinois State's opponent. It is Western Illinois, and we do have Coach Bob Nielsen with us. The 11X sitting at 3-4 after beating Youngstown State on the road last week in Youngstown, Ohio. Morning, Coach.
Thanks.
Congratulations on an impressive road victory against a ranked team, and another one coming to town. Illinois State ranked in the top 10 in both polls.
Yeah, I tell you what, I talked every week about, and I know other coaches do too, about how great the league is, and perfect example is our schedule and playing 3 teams in a row, all ranked in the top 10 in the country.
It's a good task, certainly. Let's talk about Illinois State specifically. How do you stop them? Where do you focus, and how do you beat them?
Yeah, first of all, we talk about how good teams are in the league, and Illinois State certainly represents one of the best. They do things very well. They're offensively very balanced, ability to run and throw the football effectively, dual threat quarterback that has created even more offensive options for them from a year ago, and so from that standpoint, a very difficult team to defend. Probably equally as impressed defensively. They're very well coached and fundamentally sound, and do a lot of really different things. Defensively to get multiple guys involved in run fits, and so from that standpoint, it's going to be a challenge for us. And one of the things that I think you have to do is you have to find some way to move the ball with some consistency to help your defense out against them. And that was one of the things that we really struggled with last year. Early in the game, we just couldn't move the football, and it really puts you in a bad position because they're going to execute really, really well.
Thank you, Bob. Let's get to the questions now from the media. Questions for Coach Bob Nielsen.
To ask Coach a question, press *1. Our first question comes from John Bowenkamp of the Burlington Hawkeye.
Hey, Coach. Good morning.
Hey, John.
How important was it last week to break through and get that win, considering how close you guys have been in the last couple of weeks?
It's really important from a program standpoint, from a momentum standpoint. I thought we played pretty well the last 2 weeks against high-level competition. But when you don't get over the hump and win a game, it's a little harder to reload every week. And really proud of the way our kids and our staff prepared last week. It's great to go out there and get a win against a really good team at a place that's been difficult for us to play over the years, and hopefully we can build on that. I think obviously the big thing this year is one loss does not a season lose, and one win does not a season make in any sense of imagination, and we're going to have to be better. I mean, there were some things that we didn't do as well last week at Youngstown, as we did the week before against North Dakota State, and we just got to be more consistent, keep improving, because it's going to take an even better performance than we had last week against Illinois State this week.
Did you sense this week from the guys a little more confidence in how they were playing?
I thought we had a really good week of practice last week, and coming off the North Dakota State game, I think that game, even though we lost, the other guys had a deal of confidence that we, if we do things the right way, can play competitively, and so we did have a good week of practice last week. It was great to see the reward of that week and outcome of the game being a win. And now we've just got to keep focused on improvement and getting better and making sure that we play our best football of the year on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep.
Again, to ask a question, press star 1. Our next question comes from Scott Holland of the McDonough County Voice.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Scott.
Did you notice anything different from your guys at halftime at Youngstown State, or is it just the guys just were feeling good going into half, or is it just your day? Because I know you don't make a big deal, but there has been some offensive struggles in the second half this season.
I don't think there's anything different. We made a couple of adjustments, minor adjustments like you always make at halftime, but I said this early on, and I can't remember if it was on this or in the media conference, part of when you have a young team that's trying to get over the hump in this league is you just gotta, if your guys keep putting themselves in positions, where they have a chance to win games, eventually, they're more and more comfortable in those situations. And I think the one thing I did sense, in the locker room, on Saturday is that, we were very comfortable being in a competitive football game and knew that we were going to have to do some things better in the second half. And the guys went out and executed really well in the third quarter, moved the football with consistency. We played good defense, and it's, if you can keep the other team off the field a little bit, it's a little easier to play good defense, and that's what we were able to do in the second half.
Thank you, Coach.
Coach, that was your final question. Thank you for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
You bet.
We have Coach Dale Lennon of Southern Illinois with us. Southern Illinois heads to Youngstown State this weekend for a game against two ranked teams. Good morning, Dale.
Good morning, Mike.
Let's talk about Youngstown State. How do you beat the Penguins at their place?
Well, it's never easy to do, plus it's homecoming, and they got a pretty good tradition of homecoming success. It'll be a big crowd, a lot of emotions. I think, both of our programs are kind of in that must-win. It's early, to say that in the conference race, but you really don't want to end up with two conference losses. So there's a lot riding on this game, and last year it went down to the last play of the game, and we got to be ready for that type of game again this year.
Thank you, Coach. Let's go ahead and open up now for some questions for you. Questions from the media for Coach Dale Lennon.
To ask Coach a question, press star 1. Again, for questions, press star 1.
Coach, it's an easy week for you this week. Thank you for joining us. Sorry there aren't any questions for you.
No problem.
Thanks, Dale. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
And we do have Coach Joe Glenn of South Dakota with us. Coyotes headed to Missouri State in a battle between two teams that are sitting at 0-2 in league play, a must-win for both teams to get off the schneid there. Morning, Coach.
Good morning, Mike.
Let's talk about Missouri State. They had a lead at South Dakota State last week. Let it slip away in the second half, but talk about the Bears and how do you get a win in Springfield?
Well, I think, number one, it's homecoming, as Dale just alluded to. It's a road game, and it's a Missouri Valley Football Conference game. So all those things tell you right there, it's going to be tough. And
We got to do something special. We got to go into a place where they've got 17 takeaways so far, and their quarterback's added up to 17 touchdowns as well by himself, 6 touchdowns running and 11 passing. So we got to focus on trying to hold him down and trying to protect the football and come together close as a family and as a team on a road trip. And I think you're Bob said a little bit ago, be consistent, improve each week, do it right. And we're capable. We can do this. We can get in the ring with, I think, pretty much anybody in our league, and we've got to keep improving and do it right.
Thank you, Coach. Let's go ahead and open up now for some questions for you. Questions for Coach Joe Glenn.
To ask Coach a question, press star 1. Our first question comes from Nick Berry of the Argus Media.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Nick.
When your wife had to come out Saturday, do you have a clear view of that yet?
As far as injuries?
Yes.
Riley Donovan passed a concussion test. He took a hit and was concussed, and he passed the test this morning. And Aaron Ramsey is going to do an MRI on his knee, and we'll see how that goes. Otherwise, I think we're in pretty good shape.
Thanks. Anything specific on what you can do to contain that quarterback for Missouri State?
Well, I think, we had a little practice against Northern Iowa with a mobile quarterback. So we see what we've got to do to give you a good look. You've got to stay pass rush sound, stay in your lanes. We talk a lot about that, but when you go up against a guy like Harris, it's really important that you go in and come out the same way, that you have a pass rush lane just like you do a gap to cancel in your regular defense, and you got to stay disciplined, and certainly that's part of it. And we got to get a heavier pass rush than we've had.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Nick.
Coach, that was your only question this morning. Thanks for your time, and good luck in
Thanks, Mike. See you.
All right, bye-bye. Coach John Stiglmeyer of South Dakota State is on the line with us. The Jackrabbits headed to Northern Iowa to play the national ranked Panthers in Cedar Falls. Good morning, Coach.
Morning, Mike.
Both teams coming off impressive wins last week. Talk about Northern Iowa and how you beat the Panthers.
Well, Coach Farley has done a phenomenal job every year with his crew, and they're a physical team. It's a home game for them, so their crowd will be into it. How you beat the Panthers, you got to be able to move the football against a very aggressive defense, a relentless defense. And then they're playing 2 quarterbacks now, distinctly different quarterbacks. Cole Morgan is a drop back passer and can run, but that's not his forte. And then Carnes, I think it's how you say his last name, is a passer, but his forte is running the football and does a great job of that. So you almost have to have 2 different game plans because distinctly different offenses. It's going to be a tough game. It always has been. We have not fared well in that dome down there, so we're going to go down and try to change that history.
Stephen, last week they mixed it up too at running back. We were at the game, and they had David Johnson sharing some time, so they've got a distinct running style too. They're different.
Yeah, they do, and David Johnson is a great player. And so for them to, substitute out, obviously they got a faith in probably a bunch of their running backs, but it's going to be a tough game. Again, they do some unique things offensively and defensively, but they do them very well. And so, again, Coach Farley is one of the guys, one of the programs we talked with going into this thing a number of years ago because I respect what they've done, and we just need to be ready to play some good football.
Thanks, Dick. Let's get to the questions now for you. Questions from the media for Coach John Stiglmeyer.
To ask Coach a question, press star 1. Our first question comes from Jim Sullivan of the Waterloo Courier.
a little bit about Zach Lujan. Is he a lot different than Sumner? I mean, personality-wise and the way he throws. And what sort of quarterback do you have in him?
Totally different. Yeah, he's about 6 inches shorter, about 100 pounds lighter. Has the same confidence, has the same leadership ability. Doesn't have the same arm, in terms of strength. And then this kind of the biggest thing at any position, a guy like this hasn't had the experience in our program. I mean, we've essentially known him since June, and has had still learning stuff. When we talk about this system or that system, he hasn't been in it for 2-3 years. So, but I tell you what, the one thing you cannot pump into a guy, and that is confidence and leadership, and that comes by him, through him, naturally.
And do you have a timetable really for when Sumner might be back?
It's week by week. Jimmy just put weight on his foot this last week, and so to be able to run and cut and do things like that, take hits, he's a ways off. But that's far better than not having had any weight on it for the last 4 or 5 weeks. So we think maybe 3 weeks at best.
Because you have a new young receiver freshman, I think Weineke maybe is the way it's pronounced, but what is he added to the mix with Schneider? Did you really expect that kind of output from him this fast?
Yeah, it's Weineke, and you in practice you look at a guy's skill, and sometimes you think, wow, he's ahead of the game and stuff. And they go to the game and the game, the pressure, the intensity, the speed slows him down. Well, that hasn't happened with Jake. He went into the game, and the game, meaning the season, and just has been able to excel. 2 things, right? He's really long. He has really good hands, but more than that, he has great body control. So he knows when to jump. He knows how to cut DBs off. Catch the ball over his shoulder. He's just a savvy guy and a natural for his age. He's a playmaker for us.
Hey, Coach, good enough. Thanks very much.
You bet.
Our next question comes from Terry Vanderbeck of the August Leader Media.
Coach, every year you've got to answer these questions about going and playing in domes. Well, now you've, to a certain degree, got one of your own. How do you guys handle that? Do you practice inside? Now when you go to play Northern Iowa, or what's the plan there?
We talk about it more than we really should. We are going to practice in it on Wednesday. Turn up some noise. Work in our turf shoes. But we're used to 2 full practice fields and overflowing off of those. You've been to our practices. Now we're going to go into a lot smaller facility. So part of it, we were last night, Terry, to get the gawking out of the way, as a team, and get to where we're going to be at, and drill wise and stuff. But yeah, we'll be in it this week for sure.
Thanks.
Yep.
So that is your final question. Thank you for your time, and good luck at Northern Iowa this weekend.
Thanks, Mike. Take care.
Thank you. Chris Kleiman of North Dakota State joins us. The Bison hosting Indiana State in Fargo this weekend. Both teams nationally ranked. Indiana State coming in at 4-2, and North Dakota State at 6-0, 105 unbeaten teams in the FCS. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Mike.
Let's talk about Indiana State. I came up with a stat that they're the most improved team on paper, and they look like they're the most improved team on film, likely. But talk about Indiana State, and how do you get a win over the Sycamores this weekend?
Yeah, they're playing really well, and they've had a lot of success early on in the season, and you can tell their kids are playing with a lot of confidence. They're flying around defensively, making a lot of plays. They're not missing many tackles, gang tackling, and very disciplined on defense, and been really impressed with what I've seen there. And then on offense, they've got tremendous weapons. Running back, receivers, tight end, all are good players, and the Parrish quarterback we think is a really good player, and I know he didn't play last week, but we anticipate him playing, and I think he's been in the Dome before, and so he understands the environment that he's coming into, but we think it's going to be a heck of a Valley game here next Saturday.
Thank you, Coach. Let's get to the questions now for you. Questions for Coach Chris Kleiman.
To ask Coach a question, press star 1. Again, for questions, press star 1.
Coach, if Parrish is not able to play, the differences in the two quarterback style and in preparation for how difficult it is to get ready for two different guys and how they approach the game.
Well, I don't think they changed anything from what they were going to do from their Northern Iowa game to the Illinois State game, and I think it'll be pretty much the same offense. It's just the experience factor. You know, Parrish is a senior that has played an awful lot of football, and so just the experience factor is probably the advantage that Parrish has. But you know, I also thought Matt Adam did a really good job last week and gave them an opportunity to have a chance to win at home.
And Indiana State has made mention of it, but so have I, in terms of the last time the Bison have lost it. They lost to Indiana State at home, and that team was also nationally ranked and a very good ball club. So one game is just like the other, but
it's exactly right.
Yeah. But talk about the physicality that Coach Brocksback had mentioned early on his comments about Indiana State being more physical than they were last year.
Oh, absolutely. Both sides of the football, they're able to control the line of scrimmage. I thought they dominated the line of scrimmage against Ball State, a MAC team that has had some decent success. And you can just tell their kids are playing with a lot of confidence. And Coach Sanford's done a great job of getting those guys ready to play. And they're on the rise, obviously, with being one of the most improved. And they're for real. There's no question about it. This is a really good football team that we're going to play on Saturday.
Coach, no additional questions in the queue for you, so we'll let you go. Thank you for your time, and good luck against Indiana State on Saturday.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. 2 minutes ahead of schedule, but we do have Coach Terry Allen on the line with us, and we're not going to make him wait, so we do have a coach. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning, Mike.
Let's talk about South Dakota. Coyotes coming to your place on Saturday. How do you beat them? And they've got a good quarterback at Kevin O, and he came back last week after being out for several weeks. But how do you beat South Dakota next weekend?
Well, I wish I had that answer for sure, Mike. I really don't know. I think it'll be a great football game. The last 2 years we've played, and it's come down to the fourth quarter, and I expect it'll probably be that way this week. I think Joe's done a great job with that team. They're better than they've been in the past, and you just have a lot of respect for them. As you mentioned, they've got their quarterback back, so you got your hands full.
Thank you, Coach. Let's get some questions now from the media. Questions for Coach Terry Allen.
To ask Coach a question, press star 1. Again, for questions, press star 1. Our first question comes from Nick Gary of the Argus Media.
Hey, Coach. 2 teams, both 0-2 in the conference here. I guess that there's some urgency there, but how do you make sure that your kids are ready to go in a game where, especially when you're coming off a game where the circumstances were kind of difficult for you?
Well, fortunately for us, we're coming home, and it is homecoming. And homecoming, in my experience as a coach, has been always pretty good because we've got a lot of players that are not from the area, but their parents have a tendency to make homecoming. And everybody wants to play well in front of mom and dad. So I think our players will be ready, and they're excited about playing. As we said, South Dakota's a good football team. All the teams in this league are. They have respect for them, but after last year, I think that they realize that this should be a great football game.
Thanks, Coach.
You bet. Busy day, huh, Mike?
It is a busy day. They're all on
there. There must be some baseball games going on or something, huh?
Oh, I know. We got to get home by 3 o'clock. Coach, there aren't any more questions for you. We'll see you on Saturday. It should be a good atmosphere with homecoming, and we look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Sounds good, Mike. We'll see you.
Thanks, Coach. This does wrap up today's weekly conference call. Look forward to hearing from everybody next week, and we'll see some of you on Saturday. Thank you.
This concludes today's conference call. You may now disconnect.